Hello everyone here in the room and also online. Warm welcome in this afternoon, which is becoming slightly less warm than it was the last 2 days. And welcome on the event organized by the Multipliers. This is a Horizon 2020 project. And we are the local partner of this project in which we have teachers and experts from 6 countries. And on today's event, we have a really nice program that is mostly focused on dissemination events organized by students from primary and secondary schools. You will be able to hear different good practices from different countries. But for the beginning of this event, I would like to ask Annette from our lead partner to say a few words about the Multipliers project. So, Annette, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gregor. Yeah, hello also from my side. I'm the coordinator of the project. My name is Annette Zdovc, and I've prepared some little slides just to give you an impression about our project and what it's all about. So the Multipliers project, as Gregor has just said, is an EU-funded project, a Horizon 2020 project over 3 years, and it's almost finished, so it will be end at in October this year. And the idea is
Okay. Can you please ask you possible to record?
Sorry. Okay, Gregor just asked me a formal thing. Is it okay for the audience, especially also for the online audience, if we record it? This meeting? Okay. So the people in here are okay with it, and I think the online people need to follow.
They will save their.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, so you can see on this slide now, I hope that everybody can see the presentation, our project partners. So there are 5 universities, the University of Bonn, University of Cyprus, University of Barcelona, the university here, Ljubljana, and Umeå from Sweden. The people working in these universities are mainly into teacher education from different subjects, from biology, from physics, for example. Then we have with EFI, an international organization focused on forest research. And we have IREN, an industry company. It's a multi-utility company from Italy with waste, water, and energy consumption. And we have EU Core, another partner also from Italy, helping us with all the administration in this project. So just quickly to give you an idea about the objectives, about the aims of this project. The idea is that we really want to expand the opportunities for science learning. So we have specific objectives. The first one is to create what we call an OSC. So these open science communities are partnerships, educational partnerships that group around, I would do like that. That group around schools. So we have the schools in the center, and we have external partners who work together with the students to make science learning more authentic. So the idea is to increase the people's interest in science, but also to foster their analytical and critical thinking skills. It's written people here because it's not only focused on the students, but the students, as they become multipliers, will also bring their knowledge and their skills to their families, to the broader community. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So what we want to do in the end of this project is to provide guidelines for educators in schools and in out-of-school learning environments, and also, of course, for policymakers, because the idea is to change the education system. With the teachers, especially with educators, we want to share our ideas, good practices, and of course, materials that we develop in this project. And the approach that we have chosen, that we try to foster with this project, is open schooling. So to make school more open for experts, for external perspectives, for example. So science professionals are invited to work together with the students. They bring real-life cases to the school, real-life cases in regards to contemporary challenges and to the United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So the students then work together with these experts, with several experts, so they get to know different perspectives. And they collect data, they work with researchers, they analyze the data and they start discussing using these data. In the end, that's what I was just saying before, the students become knowledge multipliers. So what they have learned, they will then share with their families, with their friends, with the wider community, and the students are free to choose the methods they want to use to share their knowledge. So there can be many different things, and you will learn about these many different things during this afternoon in our event here. So the themes that we have been tackling in this project are air pollution, antimicrobial resistance, biodiversity and ecosystem services, biodiversity and agriculture, clean water and sanitation, forest use versus forest protection, and vaccination. So very typical social scientific issues, as we call them. So scientific themes that have a very big relevance for society. And what we are going to focus now is really the students as knowledge multipliers. And this is just to give you a very, very first impression about the variety of different methods they use to share their knowledge. And you will find much more about it, during this afternoon. But first of all, I'm really glad that we are going to have a keynote. And Gregor, I think you will present our keynote speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. And yes, I have the privilege to present our keynote speaker. She's a journalist and most importantly, she's the founder of an online newspaper for kids, a wonderful newspaper called Časoris, which is something that helps children and adolescents understand better the world. And I think this is very important in order to be able to include them into the society, to better understand how we work as a society. And I'm very glad that she had time today to say a few words about media literacy, about everything that it's her passion. So I'm sure that she will have a lot to say about what we are doing, because she's involved in the Multipliers project from the very beginning. And we are using her skills in the project. Yeah, that's, I think, short presentation. 2015, so it's already almost 10 years. And I'm really proud to have her in the team. So,
thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for this kind work both from Annette and from Gregor. Actually, what I'm going to talk about and what we are doing at Časoris very much aligns into what you are doing at the project Multiplier, because pretty much the goals are the same. We want to, we say that we are inspiring children and cultivating citizens, let's say, so we want to give children enough information that they can become later on active citizens, informed active citizens, because it's not a good idea to have disinformed active citizens. So if I may have the first slide, please. So imagine the world without newspapers. Again, immediately a warning, I have been warned that I shouldn't be using the word newspapers because the word is old-fashioned, we have to be discussing multimedia and new technologies and whatever. But actually, I like the word newspaper, and that's why Časoris is called online newspaper for children, because under the concept of newspaper, I don't always understand only a print publication, but I understand the concept of content that is there, carefully selected by the editors, with the sense that it's in the public, important for the public, and that is curated, and that you get what you need to go through the day, through your year, through your life phase. So even though it is an online newspaper for children, it's digital, native media, we are calling it newspaper. And also the word newspaper I associate with quality journalism. So maybe I should write quality journalism, but it's the newspaper for me still. So anyway, imagine the world without newspapers, you know. I don't know how many of you have children, but if you have children above age 10, there is a high probability that they're already using TikTok. And earlier it was said that, you know, multipliers, the idea of multipliers is to go from open science communities back home and tell the parents, you know, what the children learn. And the same thing goes for the news media literacy and everything that we are doing at Časoris. We hope that because we lost a generation of media consumers around the world, that maybe if we offer children early enough information they can trust, they will go back home and tell their parents, oh, look what I heard in school, you know, there is actually something called newspaper, let's say, and you can get important information that you can trust. Because on TikTok, how do you know whom you can trust? You cannot, basically. Actually, we are already living in the era of AI, and it's impossible to know, I mean, at least from last November, 2 years back, November, or let's say last spring, when ChatGPT became really mainstream, it's almost impossible to know what is true, what is fake. Even me, who I'm actually doing a lot of work with fact checkers and fact checking and you know, paying attention. Sometimes if I come across a nice cute video on TikTok, on Twitter actually, about let's say hippos in Africa somewhere, you know, doing some silly things, then I said, wow, how cute, and then I think, okay, is this a good prompt given to AI or it's real video? And I don't know anymore. So basically, unfortunately, we don't have the skills anymore to figure out what is true and what is false on social media. So even though that the trust in journalism globally has declined a lot in the last decade, let's say 15 years, even though we have news deserts all around the world, we perhaps will come to this realization that we need quality news media and that we have to actually sometimes even buy it, you know, to support quality information. So Časoris, the whole idea of Časoris is to go into schools, to start with very young children, to give them an opportunity to read news in children's friendly language. We are not trying to overwhelm them at all. We publish 1 article a day, so they can develop this habit. And when they are teenagers and they see something on TikTok, you know, they have this idea, oh, okay, where can I double check this? What I've heard, this is a little bit weird, or it's affecting my emotions, you know, because immediately when some story affects our emotions, that the ratio shuts down basically. So what shall I do? And they know, oh, there is something called trustworthy information. I can check it out. Thank you. Next slide. So a little bit about Časoris. It was born actually next week, 2015. So it will be 9 years old on April the 30th. Because this is May 1st holiday, Labor Day, May 1st Labor Day holiday here in Slovenia. I had time to do it while I was still a journalist at the national daily newspaper Delo. And while I was a journalist at Delo, I realized that, and I was covering news and education actually, and I realized that's when I realized that we lost a generation of readers because children were visiting our editorial department. And when I asked them, do you know what is a newspaper? Do you have newspapers at home? Do your parents watch TV news? No hands were raising, you know. So basically, we realized that we need to teach children like we teach literacy, also news media literacy. And because we didn't have a newspaper in Slovenia that would cover everyday topics, from school strikes, you know, to whatever is of interest to children, I thought, and because it was much more cheaper to do it online than to publish a print publication because of the post office cost and printing cost, I decided to create the online newspaper Časoris, which is free. Also for one reason that nobody would buy it, you know, it's very hard to pay for digital content online, to be honest, you know. Only New York Times maybe was successful enough to get online presence that much. As I said, we are trying to inspire children and cultivate citizens, active citizens, informed active citizens. We are targeting primary school children, just like Coca-Cola. Paula is also targeting the same age group, because we know that they are trustful souls, and when somebody they trust, like parents or teachers, tell them that this is good for you, I mean, Časoris is really good for you. We hope that, they will follow our words of wisdom, let's say. It's also in English, because Slovenian language is not that big, you probably know when you're searching for partners and you come to a website in a different language and you don't know who's your contact, this was happening to us as well, so we decided to have a selection of articles published in English as well, so that people actually can see what we are doing. Not just Slovenians, 2 million people is not really a big audience, but also other teachers from abroad, basically, who don't have children newspaper in their country. They can actually use our article. And if you just click on English, please, I hope it will work. Here we have a selection of different articles. We publish one article per week, and it's everything from sports to science to culture to news to hardcore news like the war in Israel and Gaza, also the war in Ukraine, also the coronavirus, all these topics that children hear about. And we parents try to protect them from hearing about, so we don't want to tell them, but they hear about them. So it's better that they get in the language they can understand and with some context. So if you maybe click on one of the, maybe this one, dolphin, and just scroll down a little bit. We have also AI version of the articles, but just to the bottom. We also publish maps, because we really want to show where we are and where is the event happening. What we have also is glossary, because our articles are very short and we don't want to really explain them in the difficult words in the article, so we offer glossary and points to consider. The idea was when we launched Časoris that teachers would start a day in the classroom, read the article, so everybody know what's going on around the world pretty much, because all the big things are Časoris. Some things are not, but the most important things are. And you get an idea of what's going on, but also you can, connect the classroom, discuss about things, learn something new, and it's relevant. It's not something from the past, but it's actually from the world you live in. It's current affairs, So this way also children from other countries, like for example, in the Western Balkan regions, there is no other country that would have a newspaper for children. Some other countries they do have, but here in the region, we are the only one. So actually teachers of English, for example, can use already our content. Next to the okay, next slide. End the video. So what the children read.
And I haven't read such things as Časoris. For me, I think it's very important opportunity like for also the younger people to like get to know what's going on. For example, what are the parents talking about or what's going on? I think it's important to get to know this in a simpler way. Here is the very nice thing because they can be educated, they can know what's going on around, and I wish such a thing could be also implemented.
So basically, you have seen, maybe you have noticed in the back there was an article about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. There were like millions of minutes of video footage on TikTok about that trial, and children got the majority of the information from TikTok. And it was really hard to write one article and to contextualize the whole story, but we did. So basically, that's what I'm saying. If you see something on TikTok, you know that you can go to Časoris and have a look, and that you know that you will get trustworthy information. When I asked my children what do they think about the story, guess whose side they were on? Johnny Depp. So it was really very important that we write an article to give the bigger picture about what was going on in that trial. That's what we are trying to do today. Next. So how do we do it? We publish one article that is written by professional journalists. So I don't know which one is today, but we can have a look. If you go to Časoris, maybe just, yes, you can go to just so yeah, today we had this is actually just right for you. Because it's about this very old tree from one of the villages here in Slovenia. As I said, we really we are really careful about scientific articles that we write. We always link to the original journals that the articles were published in. The articles are written by one person, usually who is actually has a master in biotechnical sciences. She's now a student in Sweden, and she is focused only on scientific stories. So we have another guy who's doing sports stories, and then the rest of the team does news and culture, basically. So more generic news. Now, if we can go back to the PowerPoint, please. So this is daily news published every day at 6 o'clock because we really want to give children and teachers, something to discuss in the classroom that's relevant, current, and so on. The most important thing that we can say has been going on in the last year and this year is that we developed quite a nice network of children writing articles. And that is important for children for writing the articles and for the other children because they actually prefer to read children articles to ours. They want to know what children think, not what we all people want to know. So now it's pretty much almost every day that we have an article, not every day, but almost every day written by children. And also we have 2 groups of children, those who just write to us what happened in their school, and a real cool team of kids reporters that we are also mentoring and teaching them about journalism and media literacy. And also for us, it's important to hear what they have to say. Because, sometimes we think at age 18, they will go to vote, but we were not paying attention to what they were thinking before. So when they're 18, we want them to vote, and we want them to vote just like we think they should vote. Basically, our idea of democracy is important to them. But before, we were not really listening to them. They are worried about climate change, they are worried about mental health, but we were not giving them space to voice their concerns. So what we are doing at Časoris, we are giving them space for their voices. We also do quizzes and polls because we want to, on Fridays, we kind of give them a weekly quiz so that they can go back, read the articles, think about them again. And it's a very limited way of gamification, but not really, it's just something interactive for them to do. And maybe if you can click on how to speak about, this is also important. This is the articles for parents and teachers. And just maybe a little bit how Časoris started. It started when Charlie Hebdo attack happened in Paris, if you remember, to the magazine that happened. And I was reading about, on Facebook, of course, where we read news and voice. I was reading about an article about how a newspaper in France explained to children what happened. That's how it started, the idea. And I said, we don't have something like that in Slovenia. I mean, we don't have broadcast news for kids, but they broadcast from October to May, so half a year, no news for children. Yeah? But what was also important was that they didn't want to hide. They want to tell them what happened, but also give some advice to parents and teachers how to discuss it. So we created this section called How To. And there are articles, how to talk about porn, how to talk about coronavirus, how to talk about terrorism attacks, how to talk about school violence, how to talk whatever, natural disasters. Actually in 2015, it was this big earthquake in Nepal, if you remember. So the first article was about natural disasters. So that's also parents and teachers get a tool how to discuss, how to contextualize something the children will hear about, even if we want to protect. Please, next video. Yes. Okay, and now we got the background of how it all started with the newspaper for children, but we also went very much into media, and especially news media literacy in 2017. That's when we started developing workshops for children, and because we entered schools and we didn't have any materials in Slovene, we decided to translate as much materials as we can. So we started with, I don't know if you know, the How to Spot Fake News flyer. We translated that one into Slovene, and then from museum some information. But if you can go just here, And I can show you a little bit about the portal. So last year we put together all this into our new portal, which is this year going to be translated into English and some languages from the region, basically Serbia, Macedonia, and Albania. As I said, because there is no news for children, but also no lesson plans related to news for children. So that's why we're going to translate this. So basically we have all these tools and also explanations what media literacy is about. And we wanted to give it for teachers and for general public, you know, so also people who come across fake news and they don't know what to do with them have some info. So maybe if you can go to Zdovc, mogoče kar tle. So we developed a whole tool box basically with the interactive games and videos and a book and flyers and everything in Slovenian. So all these materials can be used now in classroom. And it's available here. And you know, there is an explanation. This is one of my favorites, you know. On Facebook, basically come across many things. And this one, for example, was shared by a friend of mine on Facebook with writing, "Oh, you could not believe, but it's true." And the headline, "How do we find out that rice is from plastics?" Not, is the rice from plastics? No, it's the statement, the rice is from plastic. And here I am to help you to figure out how you can find out if the rice is from plastic. Because of course this is fake news. You know? But this was also important because it was the portal, the website in which it was published, it was a no-name portal. But also Časoris at the time was a no-name portal. You know, at the time nobody knew of Časoris. So if you said something that was written in Časoris, nobody knew. Like from sociala.si, nobody knew. So it was really important that we also establish our credentials and that people trust us. And trust was also gained by going into schools and talking to children and teachers. And I always told them, you know, if I look into your eyes and I'm talking to you about quality journalism and media literacy, if I do something on purpose, you know, like I publish fake news, because fake news is usually misinformation is published on purpose. And actually you shouldn't be using the word that everybody knows what we are discussing if we say fake news, you know. Then if I publish something like this, you will not trust me. But if I want you to keep reading Časoris, I have to get your trust. So by going to schools, by talking to children, by talking to teachers, we are also establishing trust. So yeah, you can maybe just go down a little bit more. So you see, then we teach them how to spot which one is real photo, which one is fake photo, and all these kind of things. But also if you can go maybe just na aktualno, samo še na aktualno. Ko pa zdaj samo še tega lenega profesora, kaj že ta strah kače. Yeah. So what we also do, we are not fact checkers. Yeah, okay. But what we tell, you see, this is from the same media outlet actually, 2 stories about snakes.
And the multipliers.
And one is probably fake. I'm saying probably fake because no, the people.
Du tänkte den lilla bilden där under Jennifersen.
Amen.
And the other one was actually real. There was really a snake scare in Tilburg, Netherlands. And on the same portal. And how do you know as a average citizen which story is true? So what we are doing, we are not fact checking the news, but offering information for you, how you can go through the process to verify if you see something dubious. We now back to PowerPoint. So basically this was the portal that we have developed recently with all these tools. But what we are going to do in this year also is quite important for us. You know, we want to expand our team of kid reporters because we really need. For now, I have children, you know, I know what is going on with their minds, but when they grow up, I will not have this blessing, let's say. So I need children who will tell me what they are talking about. So that's why it's for us very important to develop a group of kids reporters and we give them back knowledge and mentorship. And if we open opportunities for them, for example, they can talk to the president of the republic and all these kind of stories they can write, for example. We also are creating a network of teachers who are ambassadors of Časoris. because we believe that without the help of teachers, we cannot do anything. And it's very important for us that they who are really aware of the need for journalism, quality journalism, for democracy, that they are spreading the word, because there is a lot of teachers who say, unfortunately, they don't have time for news, and I understand them, because we are now living in the time of crisis, crisis, you know, and news fatigue. People say, okay, I'll just shut down the TV and I will not be bothered by things that are going on. But then something happens and people say, where are the journalists, you know? So that's why we think it's important. We also teach teachers why news media are important, so they can spread information among their colleagues and also among children. Yes. We created those lesson plans that help them, and the lesson plans were written by teachers with the use of our news articles, so they can, you know, if this is Earth Day next week, sorry. And for example, last year we were discussing one topic, this year we were discussing something else, and the lesson plans are designed so that we can actually take out the article and put in a new one, and the lesson plan still stands. Yes. And we want to, as I said, reach out to children and teachers in the Western Balkans. And just maybe some more information about these packages and lesson plans. You know, you're probably familiar with Tate, but children are even more familiar with Tate than we are, you know. So it's very important that we always touch around where the children are and again put things in context. And because some people are not familiar, you know, it's our job as the news media to help them, because what is the role of quality news media? To foster dialogue, to open spaces for different voices, to connect people like Nokia, you know, which is in a very bureaucratic language called social cohesion, but this is exactly what newspapers and media companies are doing. If they are good and they care about their audience, you know, just search that for it. So we created these lesson plans that offer vocabulary opportunities, you know, exactly how teachers are using material in the class, discussion points and everything, you know, so that they can familiarize and introduce news articles into their lessons in a nice and entertaining and easy way. Okay, next one. So why we matter, these are some feedback from our users, children, and their parents, you know. I like this story about Tilen. Actually, I should tell you more a little bit about Tilen. Tilen is actually a very famous kid actor in Slovenia. Also, if you know from Slovenia, people Kappa, he was in it. When I met him, it was a day like this, early September, it was 8 o'clock. I'm not a morning person. I walked into a school and there was this fantastic music on the piano. He was playing Bad Liars by Imagine Dragons in the school piano. I was like, oh my God, there is a school actually here in Slovenia that has a piano in the hallway, and the kid can actually play on the piano. And it was really fantastic. So that's how I met Tilen. And then he was also performing. We have a Kid of the Year award. He was performing now a Kid of the Year award because, you know, we have awards for words and for sports people and cars and I don't know who, but we didn't have a Kid of the Year award, so we created one. So Tilen also reached out to us after all this, and he said, you know, I really care about environment. I want to publish an article so that more people would join me in, you know, collecting trash around my school. And that's how he published his article. And I like also about Katya. You know, my son always tells me that I never buy things he likes, you know, but I'm paying for subscription for Časoris. Can you please tell him? That's why I'm supporting you. So this is also a very nice for us statement. So we are using it as a call to action. We publish news kids trust, and I hope all of you can help us on this path. If not otherwise, you can maybe have a look at our English articles and maybe use them in your classrooms. So thank you very much. If you have questions,
Thank you very much, Sonja. So we still have some time for questions. For those of you in the room, I will just repeat the question for the audience online. So please, any questions from either from the online, you can even write it into chat or here in the room. Jean will inform me if there is any questions. Yes, Tina, please.
Thank you so much, Sonja. That's very inspiring. I was wondering about, you said that getting to TikTok or hot topics. How do you do that?
Oh, TikTok? No, we have our account on TikTok, and I'm proud to say we actually maybe have found our face on TikTok, because this was a 2-year project, Mission Impossible, up to last week when I gave a speech in one of the universities, the other one. And the first student said, I can be your TikTok person, and she created really a fantastic TikTok about autism, which is a hard topic, you know. But what we're trying to do, we want to be present on TikTok because children are on TikTok, you know, and we kind of want just to give them this, you know, brand awareness that one day they will find out about Časoris and go to the web portal, because they will not just magically switch over. We are not taking news from TikTok, although we are paying attention, but if we see that something is going on TikTok, or if there is something going on about TikTok, we also write articles about them, about this news.
Great. I hope those of you who are online could understand the point of the question. I don't know how well you can hear it, but otherwise Sonja will, in the beginning of the answer, try to just sum up a little bit what was she asked about. So any other questions from the room or online? Yes, we have another question,
I was
please.
wondering, since it's a free website, how do you get paid?
No, unfortunately, that question, that's why I kind of mentioned, you know, support financial rules of your choice, you know, but that's true, honestly, you know, if this is like you go to the bakers and you want to buy a piece of bread, you pay for it, you don't expect that bread will be for free. But no, we are actually applying, most of the finances at the moment come from projects, various projects, particularly the literacy projects. The thing is that we only had our first 2-year project last September, so it was mostly 6-month projects, and it was very hard. But you know, we never gave up basically. So we are going day by day, month by month, year by year, and we hope that we can persevere also in the future.
Very inspiring answer.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Feel free to ask. Yes, Andreas, please.
How do other countries perceive your sites? Do you have also active participants from other countries outside Slovenia and the region, like Germany or Spain? Or
You mean like children writing for Časoris?
yes, because you said you're open
Yes.
to join.
Not really children from other countries, but when Slovene children are living somewhere like in Ireland or in Belgium, you know, they write articles also for us, and this is very, very important. Also, one of the TikTokers is a student at the moment in Dublin, and he is doing TikToks about studying in Dublin, which is again, although I said that we are targeting primary school children age 6 to 15, we are actually being read also by high schools. Children, I say children because the convention for children rights talks about children up to age 18, and that's how we perceive our children. So basically it's children and teens, but I will always say children. And also adults, teachers read us, and parents, because they find sometimes that we actually can explain in a more, not easy way, because I don't want to diminish what we are doing, but basically they can more quickly grasp what is going on if they read it in Časoris, because in like the news media, you know, the people, journalists think, oh, I wrote about this yesterday, and I will write about this tomorrow, so I will not write again and again and again about the thing. I will just write a piece. So it's easier for them. But no, we haven't had yet children speaking in other languages writing for Časoris, but that may also be because quite a lot of countries, they have their own children newspapers.
Also, university professors are reading Časoris. Any other questions? Do we have any question from the audience? Feel free to ask also those that are online. Yeah. Yeah, we have another question. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I'm happy to exchange information.
I was wondering, if you had music, this is not something that was related to what I was saying. Do you also have how to talk about
Sometimes you translate those sections as well. I don't know how many of them have been translated. We will definitely have to terms, unfortunately, and prejudice also on how to discuss for parents, yes. Especially because now we are expanding into the Western Balkan regions. We are trying to, and you probably have heard about the terrible situation in Belgrade last year, much the same time as now, about the school shooting. So we wanted to give the information also for parents in the local languages, but for now it's only in English, or it's on to-do list. To be honest, I'm not really sure if we have already translated, but we are discussing without translating. It's more at the moment focused on the news, but because of this media sustainability, media literacy, Clear for Sustainable Future is the name of the project. For sustainable, because of that project, we are also taking some other content in English.
I have a question.
Yes, thank you.
There are many of us science experts and science teachers. So how do you see, you probably can monitor how many are taking different articles from different themes that you are providing? How is science popular?
It's very, very popular, especially articles about animals are very, very popular. I have been just looking at the analytics the other day, and for example, the article about cats having 335 faces or something like that was one of the most popular articles. As I said, culture and science, we do write for children, but we are actually talking about really hard stuff, hardcore stuff. Sometimes we also write an article about pet names, but most of the time it's about really research that has been done by research groups in various countries, relates to the original articles, because sometimes we have seen that other news media, they just do write something, maybe doing a mistake when they're shortening the research knowledge, and they don't link, so it's very hard to verify. So we are really very paying much attention to the fact that we are linking to the original content so that everyone who's interested to go to the original source and have a look at the really heavy, usually stuff that's not for children, but maybe for teachers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your stay here.
So we will continue with the second part of our dissemination event. First of all, we would just like to give you an overview of our web page and what you can find on the web page of the project. There are a lot of different resources available there, and also valuable links that you could use in your work, pedagogical work. So I'll ask Priscilla, who is a kind of a mind behind the whole web page, to say a few words about the content you can find there, and maybe also some of the future development of the web page.
Thanks, Edwin. So as I mentioned, my name is Sonja Merljak Zdovc, and I work for the European Forest Institute, also known as EFI. So EFI is responsible for the communication and dissemination work of Multipliers. And Annette has already introduced the project. So building on her presentation, I would like you to introduce some of our first project outcomes and materials that are available online and that can support teachers in their work. We launched in the past months a new platform called the Multipliers Open Schooling Hub. You can access it using this URL, or I invite you to scan the QR code and you will gain direct access. So for whom is this made? This is made for science teachers and science educators in general who are interested in making school science more meaningful to their students and more connected to real world issues. Next slide, please. So Annette already presented our main topics in the project, and we have here on the platform 6 toolkits available on the topics of air pollution, antimicrobial resistance, biodiversity, clean water, forest use versus forest protection, and vaccination. There will also be another one on biodiversity and agriculture. And what is a toolkit? A toolkit is a set of different activities that you can conduct in sequence. So building on each other and expanding students' understanding on a certain social scientific issue, but you can also do activities separately. So if you only have 1 hour with your students, you can filter the activities on the platform and see according to the duration. So here we have a page of the vaccination toolkit showing the teaching and learning sequence and also some multimedia resources. Next. So if you click on an activity, you can see at the top the age range that this activity is appropriate for, the duration, also the materials that you might need to conduct it. And here on the bottom left, you can download, for instance, teacher guides or student materials like worksheets, everything that you need to conduct this activity. And there on the bottom left, you can see related resources. So other activities in this sequence are in this toolkit. Next one. Yeah, here is just an illustration of our teacher and student materials. You can find them in multiple languages. So for air pollution, we have not only in English, but also in Catalan. Antimicrobial resistance we also have in Greek. And as the project progresses, we will make more translations available. Next one. Here's a screenshot of the homepage. So as I mentioned, you can filter by age, topic, duration, and type, depending on what's your interest. And as Annette already mentioned, our activities, they're not only made for the classroom. Of course, there's a lot that you can do in the classroom, but we also suggest that you do field trips. Here you see a photo of our outdoor classroom in the forest. In Italy, we also conducted visits to water supply systems, depending on the topic. And the idea is that the students interact with experts. We think that this helps them to develop more interest in science and also raise awareness about new science careers. And of course, the name of the project is Multipliers. So many of our teaching and learning sequences, they culminate on multiplying activities or multiplying events, where the students, they convey the knowledge that they have learned to their families, to younger students, to their communities. And this is what the event today is about, science communication. So I have introduced here our platform, and after me, we will have teams from our 6 countries, and they will deliver presentations on how these multiplying activities are happening in our different countries. Thank you. Starting with our team in Germany, and we'll give a presentation on visual and video storytelling.
So hi, everybody. Hi, online. I'm Catherine Roosevelt from Bonn, Germany, and we are very delighted to be here in Ljubljana and to fill the first slot. So I introduce myself. I'm a media expert, and I'm part of the open science community, the German open science community, and I supported students in making videos.
Hello, my name is Barbara Wiesert. I'm from the Frauenschule in Bonn. I work as a teacher there, and I'm also part of the Multipliers in the teacher's position. And so we want to show you something about explanatory videos. Show, don't tell. Too much. What it means, you'll see later. So we subdivided our presentation into 3 subjects: learning, explanatory videos as a learning product, as making of a product, and as a presentation. And Rosie is going to start with the learning product.
So we choose an example here, a video example on whooping cough and vaccination. And the students chose to make explanatory video. And so afterwards, after our conference, you can have a look on YouTube of the European Forest Institute, where this video documentary is published. And we just give you some glimpses of what the students did. And my work here I have to do is to introduce you to the magic of storytelling. It's very easy, but you have to know the steps. And that's what I'm going to present now. First of all, I want to show you what the students did and how they worked. This is the worksheet. It's an empty video script I prepared for the students, and they should be able to produce a screenplay with that empty worksheet. And I just gave them some hints what to do. So you can download this worksheet on the Open Schooling Hub, Priscilla just introduced. And so have a look at this. You can just slide back. Thank you. So there you can get to know how to find your target group, very important. And what about storytelling, the steps I will show you in a minute, and what to prepare on set, very important issues. So now we are entering the real world. Here you can see the students who really got this empty script, just these few hints, and filled all their ideas into it. Yeah. So I was very shocked when I saw the prepared scripts. How did you do that? Wow, great. So they were really able to work with this. So just give it a try and check this worksheet. All right. So they pointed out their target group, and I just wanted to know what touches you emotionally. You know, the emotional entrance is very important. And here's just an example from one student, Ava, from this class who prepared the explanatory video. And she said, quote, personally, when I am learning, I mainly watch explanatory videos, and that's what I find most appealing, emotion. And I think younger people might also find that appealing. So they chose to show this explanatory video and produce it for the 8th graders in their school. So I talked about storytelling. So I give you five steps, that's enough, to build up a very easy story that hopefully is maybe sustainable and impactful. So we'll just go through the steps with examples. Okay, let's dive deeper into the world of storytelling. The first step is a hook. It's like a fishing hook. You have to catch the attention of your audience, yeah? And the second step is the appetizer. Just give them a small piece of cake that they can taste and say, oh, that's tasty. And we'll just watch an example how the students did this in Bonn.
Ja, nee, irgendwie in letzter Zeit ein bisschen, ich weiß auch nicht, was das ist. Was hier nach einer banalen Situation aussieht, hätte gravierende Folgen haben können, denn Julia hat Keuchhusten, auch Petrussis genannt. Obwohl Keuchhusten extrem ansteckend ist, bleibt Fritzi gesund. Wie kann das sein? Gehen wir der Sache auf den Grund.
So let's find out later on the YouTube video, okay? So the third step is to build up a wedding cake. So this is the main part, the content where researchers can put all in the facts and details. You know, this is the main part. It's with the longest duration. And what did they choose in Bonn concerning the whooping cough issue? So they prepared an animation video within that explanatory video, all on their own. I didn't have to do anything. They knew how to do it. And they invited an internal expert. One student explained some statistics, and even the off voice was performed by a student, all on their own. I just gave them some technical help. Okay. Okay, the fourth step is almost the end, the call to action. No, in our keynote, there was this beautiful call to action. So here they chose whooping cough can infect everyone. Yeah. So you start to think, okay, can affect everyone? Me too. Okay. This is a photo taken in the classroom where they performed and presented their video in front of the 8th graders and started the discussions later on. And how to deal with that. Vaccination, yes or no, okay? So, the fifth step is an addition, but for me, it's the most important because, you know, there were so vivid students and everyone wanted to say something, and they did in front of the camera, everyone. Some just said half a sentence and just mention them in the credits. It's very important because you honor them, you honor their brave heart that they did that. And so just give them the heart like on Instagram, okay? So these were 5 steps, very short and simple. Just try to tell your stories that way and give me a feedback if that works. So now Barbara will present you another example. Yeah, another example.
Yeah, so besides using videos as the learning product, you also can use them as a making of to show the development of a product. And I will show you, just a second, I will show you this because we made a podcast in a studio in Bonn concerning the subject HPV vaccination. Besides this podcast, there was also a group who was doing a making of this podcast event. And I put out some little bits and pieces of this making of to show you. It is the beginning. Then we had a part of the producing process. And at the end, an interview with a scientist.
Just for part of the podcast, so how do you experience the podcast?
We welcome that experience and what we will do as people use it outside.
And the question is, first of all, the students did it by themselves. So I didn't do nothing for this making of. They did it, they copied everything. And the reason for this is that the podcast is now on soundcloud.com. And we wanted to make persons curious to watch, to listen to this podcast. And so we put this making of on our homepage. And so all the students, pupils, and the parents are curious to see, to listen to it. And yeah, then the last thing, I don't want to say much about this because those are the explanatory videos. I think you already know. It's you take some pictures, information, and you put it under the camera and you explain something. In this case, the student explained first use versus first protection, and they choose the widget. But this is also a way to use videos, in this case, as a presentation. Yeah, and now the final, very important part.
All right, yeah. Last but not least, there's the dissemination. And I don't want to talk much about these pictures. It's just the motivation is share your experience with others. And so you can see they showed and they presented their media products in front of a foreign audience. And so they were so delighted to see them on screen and to get that feedback later on. And they were very happy to be able to do this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will just continue with the cases. So the next case comes from Cyprus.
So hello everyone, my name is Eleni from the University of Cyprus. And today we have the pleasure to have with us our amazing teachers from 2 secondary schools in Cyprus, Stella and Melina. So first of all, I think it's important to get to know our topic. So we focused on antimicrobial resistance. So the first question is, what is antimicrobial resistance? I don't know if any of you know, have heard this issue before, the teachers who came today, but because we ran out of time, I'm gonna explain it. So go back, please, thank you. So according to the World Health Organization, antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, is an issue that occurs when microbes change over time and no longer respond to medicines designed to kill them, making infections harder to treat and increasing the risk of disease spread, severe illness, and death. And what causes this? First of all, overuse and misuse of antibiotics, lack of hygiene and sanitation, poor infection and disease prevention control in healthcare facilities and farms, and of course, lack of knowledge. So why we chose antimicrobial resistance? Because it is one of the top global public health threats, and it is estimated that bacterial AMR, antimicrobial resistance, was directly responsible for 27 million global deaths in 2019. And if you see the chart on your right, yeah. So by 2050, the deaths caused by AMR will be 10 million, which is a big, huge number, and it's the same number as the cancer deaths. Next, please. Of course, Cyprus, unfortunately, is ranked amongst the EU countries with the highest consumption of antibiotics for systemic use in the community, and you can see some pictures from the news. So this is the reason we decided to focus on this topic in Cyprus, and because we lack of awareness about this topic. We ran 3 implementation rounds on the same topic with these 2 secondary schools. And now Melina will focus on the activities that we did in the classroom. Thank you.
Hi. So as a start to our topic, after we covered the basics of microbes, because we put this project within our curriculum. So in year 8, we start teaching students about microbes, antibiotics, vaccines, and so on. So if we embedded this within the curriculum, so this way we can actually continue doing this every year. And if a new teacher comes in, they can actually use what we've done and continue it. So after we covered the basics, what we did was we had the first lesson with our students where we gave them authentic media, articles from online that we can trust, and we put them into groups that they would have to represent different stakeholders. So they have to put themselves in positions of specific groups. So for example, we have policymakers, academics, patients, farmers, pharmaceutical industry, and media. So the whole reason why they did this was to actually extrapolate the data from the articles, compare different articles, contrast, and use a TAP test to see if they're actually reliable, if they are, what's their purpose, and so on. So there's a little bit of a cross curriculum with the English department as well, because this is what they use. So we like to embed different other subjects in science. So after they did that, they had to then form some arguments. Go to the next slide, please. To answer this question and have an in-class debate. So this is where things got really heated, and we had to break things up at some point because the groups had to represent the different stakeholders. So the farmers, for example, wanted antibiotics. They were still on overuse of antibiotics because they want their profit. And then we had the policymakers that were trying to stop them from doing this. So it was very interesting. So the question I had to answer and form arguments about was, should we ban the use of antibiotics for the treatment of flu? So we did this in class, both last year and this year, and it went really well. Yeah. So, next slide. Okay, I think you're taking it.
And after that, because what we want students to know is these different perspectives of the different stakeholders. And after that, we wanted to give them an opportunity to interact with the experts. So the first year, we collaborated with the Biobank of the University of Cyprus. So we had one full day of interactive activities. So the next year, we went to another university, the University of Nicosia, and here we collaborated with microbiologists, epidemiologists. So the students met some careers that they were not aware before. Next, and the third implementation round with Stella. And during that intervention, we went to the food lab, which is a laboratory that does food and water analysis. So we gave them a perspective, but that relates to another facets of the problem as well. And after that, the students started designing, preparing their own open schooling projects that were about to be used for the dissemination events, the open schooling events. So you can see, Melina, we had the cartoonists come in and show them how to make fun, interesting cartoons. And then some of our students took on to draw actual bacteria that we then used at the open event for little children to color in or to make stories like little comics with. So again, there's a little bit of cross-curricular with the arts department. Then here we had the help of the drama department. We turned our debate into a theatrical debate. So the students got to dress up as the fancy small lawyer, the policymaker, and the farmer that's like educated, very extreme, I guess, very stereotypical things, but it was in the sense of like making it funny and interesting. So they got to practice this, we wrote a script, and then we were able to showcase this, their fun theatrical debate in a few places actually that we will see with it. And those are some of the posters that were created in the first year. And we created more posters in the second year with both schools and flyers that we shared during the events. And you can see some pictures here from the posters, the flyers, and the preparation of the board game that Stella will talk about in a bit. So we did those activities not as part of the Multipliers project, but also we presented these activities in the European Researchers Night. And the theatrical debate that Melina talked about before, it was featured in the World Health Organization campaign on antimicrobial resistance. And you can watch the debate here. Okay, so you got an idea. So we organized two awareness raising campaigns in 2003 and last week. The first one was in the city center in the central square, and the second one was at the mall of Cyprus in Nicosia. So in both campaigns, we had different activities for a variety of age groups, mostly interactive ones, except the poster exhibition. So we also had the human library where we invited experts to be interviewed by the students. And you can see, you can watch a video on the website, and we can go to the. So what we're doing, basically, we're announcing a campaign on social media, and we're giving flyers. And these, here you can see pictures from the awareness campaign we had last Sunday at the Mall of Cyprus. Students were asking the public questions, like short questions, like, so I was copying last week, and I thought, okay, I had some leftovers antibiotics, so I can just take them. Do you agree? Do you disagree? So these kind of questions. Again, we had the human library, and our photo frame that I think people loved it. And we did pictures with the public, with our stakeholders, like the Institute of Biology, our experts, and photos from the human library. And also the interactive activities. We had Play-Doh, so they were doing modeling activities, puzzles that they had to fix, and some storytelling. And also we invited experts that they did their own activities, like the UV, like identifying microbes on by using the UV light. And one of the most, let's say, one of the big open schooling projects that we did was a board game. And Stella will present it.
Hi, everybody. So the board game was made with my students that were years ago, so ages of 14 to 15. The aim of the game was initially to help the public understand the importance of using antibiotics at minimum whenever needed, but of course with the doctor's prescription. At the same time, to help the public understand that for different pathogens, you need different treatments. So we use a variety of micropathogens, some with bacteria, fungi, and viruses, and we had treatments for each of them individually. In order to help them understand about antibiotic resistance, we placed numbers on the curve, from 1 to 5. Of course, 1 is weakened, and the 5 is the strongest. And for bacteria, the number 4, the example that we have there with Staphylococcus, the number 4 is quite, the Staphylococcus has antibiotic resistance, is quite strong, number 4. So if I'm to use the antibiotic with effectiveness number 1, it's quite weak, so I cannot use this. So we understood that we help the people coming to the awareness campaign understand better about the antimicrobial resistance as they were playing the game. So these are more photos from us at the campaign. So different people were playing and they were able to kill effectively pathogens during the game.
And you missed something, I think, so you can see our work, but can here, they are 3D printed and they are in the shape of microbes, as you can see.
So we have, for example, coccus, like staphylococcus. So the bacteria tend to have this shape, or bacillus, like staphylococcus. And then we have spiral, we have retroviruses, and we have fungus.
Thank you very much. So after two presentations, maybe time for a question or two for the first two groups presenting. So if anyone has any question online or someone here in the audience, now it's time maybe for some quick questions. And after that, at the end, of course, there will always be a possibility for some further explanations or questions. So any quick question that you would like to raise for the first two groups from Germany and from Cyprus? You have a question for, okay, for colleagues from Germany.
How do you actually get the students to take videos and actually be in the videos? Because our students were so shy, they just take their life or.
Due to the lack of time and the music here, it's kind of Hollywood. So it's simple. I just asked who wants to do that.
If you would have any further questions. Okay, so now we already, with me, our colleagues from Italy, so they will continue with presenting their case of knowledge multipliers. Please.
My name is Daniela Bergamaschi. I'm from Italy, from Iran, which is the industrial partner of the Multipliers project. Iran is a multi-utility dealing with waste, energy, and water management, but is also very active in promoting educational activities on environmental issues. Water is, of course, one of these issues. And slide, please. And our Multipliers project, the Italian project, is focused on water. It is aimed to increase scientific understanding of water management and use, and influencing changes in water consumption and perception. Maybe you don't know that in Italy there is an overconsumption of plastic water bottles. And there is a general mistrust about tap water. People usually buy expensive bottled water, and this is insane because tap water is treated every day, it is monitored, it is controlled by internal and external actors. And one of the aim of the Multipliers project is to encourage consumption of safe and environmentally friendly tap water. Paola Semeghini is a teacher of the the school, the upper secondary school, Liceo Blaise Pascal in Reggio Emilia in central Italy. And she helped us very much in this project. And we have carried out a wide range of activities, of multiplication activity addressed to communities, families, also in cooperation with Iran water experts and with other stakeholders in our OSC, Open Science Community, Italian OSC. Next slide. To complete the achievement of our goal, water bottle vending machines will be replaced at the end of the school year by a 0-mile fountain water dispenser, which will be installed at the school premises and will be open for sustainable water drinking consumption. I will make a short description of the main multiplication activity carried out and promoted by students. First, there was a research history on water, on the local water systems, followed by an exhibition which was held at school premises. There were scientific seminars organized by students on water quality and management, addressed to the general public, in particular to elderly people. They included lectures, laboratory sessions, and they were organized in cooperation with another member of our OSC, Regione Educatori. There were also guided tours of the exhibition of local water history. You can first. Yeah. There is a short video on Nonno Leonardo, Grandpa Leonardo. Yes. Peer-to-peer training were also addressed to students of schools of other grades, vocational school, Filippo Re, which has also helped multipliers in its dissemination activities with the production of flyers on water quality and consumption. And with the primary school Cabianca, and the secondary, lower secondary school Austria in Reggio Emilia. And one of the most important multiplication activity to raise awareness on water consumption, on sustainable water consumption, to debunk fake news regarding water quality and taste is the water blind testing. Paola will explain in more detail this activity.
Thank you, Daniela. And
Water blind testing is a very simple test. We decide to perform it in several events during these overall these 2 years. For example, you can see some events in our school during open day, so with a different target, students and families. And then also the European research night, at the University of Reggio in September, as Cyprus did last year. And yes, other dissemination events was in a center, educational center, an important educational center in Reggio Emilia, named Lorisana Guzzi Center, and where there is a canteen, a restaurant called Cruz, and with some hundred customers every day. So we perform blind testing, also chemical analysis on water, and then also raise some pictures and remove the scene. For example, the day was the World Water Day on 22nd March. Okay, water blind testing, what is? It's a simple test, but you have to design it. So the design is that one is a free desk with 3 different anonymous glass bottles, and especially you have to choose the 3 kinds of water. First of all, tap water, our school water, and the other 2 bottled water chosen by different kind, more expensive, cheaper, more brand, no brand, or hard, light, different characteristics. And you have to prepare the environment to taste, to vote, and then to collect data and do some statistics. And we perform more than 350 tests, and we found that the difference without the shape and the label of the bottle is not significant. So we think it's a very important result. Next one. This is the method as the materials are simple economic. The questionnaire that you at the end of the tasting you can vote. You choose A, B, or C, and why. And our students, this test has been taught also to the lower secondary school students. So our students provide them a video tutorial made by themselves. So,
oggi discuteremo come arrivare alla stanza. Oggi scegliamo dei temi di carta, studiamo 3 bottiglie vuote, illuminate in maniera manuale. La A, dell'altro movimento, una bottiglia B, in cui utilizzeremo una pistola come entrata e meno dura, e infine un'acqua C, un'acqua più dura, meno commercializzata e meno costosa. Ogni milione di persone interessanti dovrà successivamente effettuare veloce gestionato dice sistema quale crea queste previste di le preferenze dei campioni saranno pressoché indifferenti, infatti non sarà facendo la marca dalla commercializzazione e crea due risultati pressoché identici.
Gotcha.
Okay, all details about this line test has been inserted in an article they published last November in the magazine Science School, together with other teaching sequences, for example, about the debate, tap water versus bottled water, and also how to perform hardness chemical analysis of it. At the end, with ICT teacher collaboration, our students by themselves are preparing this an ongoing process in probably the next budget. They are preparing this website, Multipliers website, water website, where we collect all the documents, all the videos, all the pictures, all the methods, and of course, we put there the link at the Multipliers site to features, you have to, and so on, and all of your documents. And thank you very much for your attention.
Wonderful. So for now, we have 3 different cases. So we are at half points towards the end of the presentation of different cases from different countries. So we'll continue with Sweden. Please join me.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Lina Var. I'm a researcher from Umeå University, and I have with me Maria.
Yeah, my name is Maria Thompson, and I'm working with the class that you will see in the slides. Yeah.
And we also have Kristina. All right, good. So first of all, our theme was called forest use versus forest protection, and it's about a very hot topic in Sweden. Sweden is a country that's covered with 70% forest, and a lot of people own forest, and a lot of people use the forest for recreational use. So the debate is really, should we cut it down or should we hang out in it if we go to the extreme views? And so what we did is, that's the spot, Lövånger, where Maria is from, and here's the community, and there's the school.
Over there?
Yeah, and as you can see, it's a community that has a lot of forest around it, and if we would zoom out, you'd see plenty more. Yeah. So what we did was, or one of the things we did that we're going to present today is we provided the students with 2 different cases, which we had also talked to local biologists about if they would be credible cases. And the thing about Lövånger is it's close to a city called Skellefteå, which is really expanding due to a new battery factory. So they're talking about 10,000 people, I think, moving in. And Lövånger is a bit outside, but it's still a possible community for building housing. And so the 2 cases that the students were provided with was one company or one group of people or organization wanted to construct a mountain bike track in this forest, which we call the Water Tower Forest because it was next to the water tower. And also a housing company that wanted to build a housing complex for many people here at what we call the clear cut cap.
And we also have a lake here, and they're skiing just beside.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, there's a ski track, right? Yeah. And what we did before they got these cases was we walked around the whole community from the school that's up there, all the way around the students thought it was really hard. The biologist was telling the students about these different forests. So for example, the Water Tower Forest was really an untouched forest. It had lots of deadwood and a lot of biological diversity. Whereas this clear cut was a production forest where they had just planted new trees. So there was only leafy greens, leafy greens there like birch trees.
And
But it
quite
was,
hard to walk. in.
yeah, quite hard to walk in, but they had planted fir trees that was gonna grow up, yeah. All right, Madeleine, so for our first, for their first assignment, or one of their first assignments, what do we see in the image to start?
This is the forest beside the water tower. And we are walking around looking at dead wood. And looking what animals insects are living here. And Johanna, our biologist, told us a lot about the forest. And children are well known with this forest. We are there a couple times a year from when they're small to school year.
Yeah. And after they had walked through all these different types of forests, what was the next part of the assignment?
They were going to interview their families, 3 generations, about how to use the forest, if they're using the forest, and just the relationship to the forest.
And also, they met with aunties, right?
Auntie, been working in a local forest company.
So these two you could call experts, and these were experts in being, you know, community members, and so they gave their view on the cases, right? Yep. And then what happened? We did a dissemination of polling event. Tell us about the assignment, please.
They had to go to our supermarket. This time, tell us what is it, what's the all about, and the project. And here we have the map of the 2 cases. And they asked the locals, what do you think about these 2 cases? And they presented what it was about and how it affects the forest. And this is one of the groups.
Yeah. And they were supposed to describe the different
Yeah.
cases, not only in terms of ecological impact, but also maybe in terms of what does the community want. Yeah. And we were really careful about them telling people.
This is not in real life, it happens.
Yeah, and it seemed to have been successful, because I didn't read about it in the newspaper, so yeah. All right, and then you had a final dissemination event as well. Could you tell us about that?
The class had to present in 2 ways, for the younger children and for the experts. And they had showed them some pictures and talked about the cases and the project. And then they had a Kahoot with the smaller children. And they were helping, and you can see the sitting groups. And there were questions about what kind of tree it is, what do you use the forest for, what is our project about, it's different kind of questions.
And also in when presenting to the experts and maybe to the younger children as well, they said which alternative had won the poll, and also what their parents thought, and the experts and themselves really. Yeah. And which one has won?
The mountain bike.
The mountain bike track, yes. They, for one of the things was they didn't think they needed more people in Levanger. It's quite a lot.
Yeah, and they thought that the water tower forest was so nice to walk in, to be in, so they thought if we build a mountain bike track, more people will come to the forest.
Yeah. So they thought of a recreational use really for that first. And what did the students have to say about this experience?
They learned that they had to be prepared for questions. You can't just present and then I'm finished. They need to read and learn and know really what they are talking about. And it was very fun to visit all the forests and learn more. Because some of my students haven't been in the forest. If they're new in Sweden,
there's no, they have never been there, so that was fun for them. And then they thought it was really good to learn words and see them in reality. And like deadwood, oh, now I know what deadwood is. It's like this. Yeah, and it was quite hard to present for the younger children because they didn't listen, they moved around. So they had to really look at us, listen to us. So it was a really good learning experience. Yeah.
Perhaps it brought some respect for you.
Yeah.
As a teacher. All right, well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have covered 4 presentations. So we have a short break just for any questions if they were raised by now. And we are just checking online. There are no questions. Are there any questions here in the audience that you would like to ask the presenters here? If not, we have the next presentation actually online. So
Yes.
from Spain, Elia, she will talk about their cases. So what they have been doing with students in knowledge multiplying. So Elia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Are you going to share your screen or you prefer that share mine?
You can share it.
Okay, so I'm going to try it. Okay, I'm not able to share my screen because of things on Zoom. Maybe you can share
Try again. You should be able to now.
Okay. Now. Wait, I don't know why. I'm going to try, let's try again. Oh, hi everyone. Now. Okay. Could you see my, wait, not by the end, by the beginning of the presentation. No. Could you see my screen?
We don't see the presentation.
Perfect. So as Gregor introduced myself, I'm Elia, not Digna, but I'm also from Autonomous University of Barcelona. I'm a researcher also in Barcelona. And today, what I would like to present is the students.
Just one thing, we don't see the presentation.
Okay. I don't know why.
You should share the screen, not the application.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying, I'm Elia, so I'm going to present today what we did last year with our students around the topic of air pollution. So as Priscilla and Irene present before me, this is part of a huge teaching and learning sequence. So today we are going to present only block 5. So thinking and communication solution to air pollution issues. But there are other activities that are part of this teaching and learning sequence that you could find in our webpage. So if you want to know what students did during this process and how they are able to present in front of other OSC members their work, you can see the activities. But one of the activities that I would like to highlight is those in which students need to carry out their own research about air pollution in their schools. So they plan and collect their data that they used in the last part of the multiplying event. So what was the multiplying event? The multiplying event that we decided with teachers to did in Barcelona was a conference, like a science fair conference, with all the OSC members involved, and it includes different OSC members, include students, a lot of students these days at the university, and also the experts in different kinds of experts, like media experts, also scientific experts that follow us in the process of building these activities. I'm going to try to find the final. Okay. I don't know, what are you?
We see the presentation, not the video yet.
Okay, so I'm going to wait. And this one.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, nice.
Hi ha 2 miners que van a trobar una màquina.
Okay, this is the video that we shared at the end of the event. So as you could see in the video, we split the scientific day in 2 parts. The first part was this part where students present to other OSC members what they obtained, their results and their solution about their own research in their school. So they share knowledge with the experts, and experts give them feedback like, okay, it's interesting. I usually use this in our experiments or things like that. You could see in this photo the auditorium. And then we also want to involve the students in other kind of workshops to share with them other ways to communicate and other strategies. In the video, you could see one of the storytelling, or for example, board games regarding to air pollution that they join and share with others which kind of ideas are involved or they want to share, like in a more artistic way. And how we scaffold students to think and communicate these ideas of knowledge during in the multiplying event. So what we do is a student toolkit that start with this scaffolding that follows the design thinking way. So they use this scaffolding to start thinking on what kind of solutions they think that are possible around and in their schools. Then in the same students toolkit, they have some examples that other schools or authorities did, such as, for example, the green vertical walls or something like that. And also we use this part to share with them some of the expertise that our OSC members have, and that they can think if these things are useful for them to think on the solution. And for example, these experts usually did forecast for air pollution. So maybe it was one of the ideas for the students to use. And finally, what some example of the students' communications are these three. One is a photojournalism that they did in their own school or around their school, and they put on the walls of their school to see other students of the same high school how pollution is looked at. Then they also in the same high school, they do a podcast in their own radio, their high school radio, with a new explaining this photojournalism. And finally, another high school decided to use a puppet that they made by their own to explain the problematic of air pollution, not only to their schoolmates, but also for the families. We also want to share in our final minutes these other outputs that are part of our multiplying event. These outputs are not focused on students, are focused mostly on the other OSC members to engage them on the participation. They are not now in our repository, but are going to be part of them when we translate them. And are three of them. One, to share with them three ideas to communicate when they, as STEAM professionals, go to the schools and talk with students, or in the same, for example, in the scientific fair, when they talk with the students, which kind of messages they need to share with them, such as STEM is useful for people like you, because we usually work in this project with students with low economical background. So it's important, this kind of message. Others questions that OSC members can ask themselves to prepare how to present them in front of the students, because students usually do some questions that we are not used to. Like when you are young, you are interested in science. So some questions that they can think before this meeting with students. And the final one that it's really related with students one is how to give them an effective feedback for the students. So, for example, we share with the OSC members that are not used to share their experience with students, that if they want to give a feedback, the feedback needs to be honest, kind, but also concrete to help them to improve their following, for example, their scientific presentation. And this is everything from Barcelona team. If there is any question in the room or also online, or Gregor, maybe you can present and then.
Thank you, Elia. Yeah. Well, the last presentation will be from Slovenia, and since it's a long day, we are going to sit down together with a teacher from primary school, Spodnja Šiška, Živa Škrinjar. She's part of our team, and we would like to present shortly a product that was introduced to our schools as part of this Multipliers project, and it's a bag full of different equipment for doing science outdoors. So the idea behind this science backpack will be shortly presented in a video that Jean will now open, and then this will be followed by a short interview with Živa about how she implemented this science backpack in her class.
the of concepts of sustainability is more important today than ever. Biodiversity is one of the most important concepts of sustainability, as the scenario of multi-species extinction is becoming increasingly more probable. And we as relate. However, not everything is so pessimistic. Project Multipliers promotes open schooling across Europe, a new way to learn that makes science more meaningful and directly relevant to everyday life and real-world challenges. Funded by European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program. The paramount topic we wanted to address with this project is biodiversity and ecosystem services, regulating, supporting, provisioning, and cultural. Moreover, the very name of the project is revealing another important dimension worth addressing: multiplying. And here, design activities may help as well, since they can be made available to everyone and thus be brought closer to different people through different perspectives, with which significant messages can widely and easily spread across the society.
Preko katerega je varnostne naravoslovne dejavnosti, sodelujemo z vrtci, osnovnimi šolami, srednjimi in s fakultetami. V zadnjih letih pa s svojim zavodom tudi vključila v projekt Multipliers. Ena od naših dejavnosti je tudi projekt naravoslovne nahrane, ki smo ga pripravili z namenom, da bi vrtci bolj kvalitetno preživljali svoj prosti čas. Najprej smo s tem projektom začeli v vrtcih leta 2019 in ta več nekaj teče. Kasneje pa smo v uveljavi še v osnovne šole. Naravoslovni nahrani izgleda takole, vsebuje veliko pripomočkov, in vsem pa se mi zdi pomembno, da vam pokažem, da vsebuje tudi naravoslovni dnevnik. V ta naravoslovni dnevnik otroci opisujejo svoja opažanja, knjigijo dele rastlin in se na nek način izrazijo v tem, kar so doživeli v naravi. Namen naravoslovnega nahrbtnika pa je tudi povezovanje med učiteljem, otrokom in družinskimi člani. Zato smo v mestnem polku uredili 3 delovne učilnice, v katerih izvajamo dejavnosti, ki so tako privlačne za otroke, da popoldan pridejo svoje starše.
We hope that this activity and others like it will help to spread the awareness of the importance of biodiversity and that we will succeed to ensure a better future for the whole planet.
That was a short introduction into our activity and our history, how it was actually developed. So as it was said, it was first developed for preschool children and their parents, because we noticed that their daily routine is changed in the last few years, especially last decade or two, because of the, let's say, they changed working routines, jobs stops later in the day. So we wanted to contribute in a way to develop really high quality experiences with nature throughout this project. So what I wanted to do today is to present you with our teacher who is implementing these science backpacking schools. And what we did in the project is that we presented the whole idea to a selection of teachers from different levels, from primary, lower secondary school, and we asked them to think how they would implement this. So we didn't give them much instructions. I was very confident that these very skilled and experienced teachers will know how to do it and find a way. And I asked today Jiva to tell us a little bit more about this process, how she implemented the science backpack in her everyday work, classroom.
Hello. I joined the project with two groups. First group are my fourth graders. Those are children from 9 to 10 years old. And the other group are a group of gardeners. That's an after-school activity. And there are children from 8 to 12 years. So we work with both groups on Mondays and Thursdays. And one of the children took the backpack home for a whole week. And then they explore, use all the tools that are in the backpack. All they had to do was go out. Because the children are younger, there are often involved the whole families, grandparents, older and younger siblings, parents. They were helping them, so some of their work is really admirable. All were included, also the children from the families with lower social status, because they got all in the backpack. They didn't need to buy anything. They just had to go out. And our school is really in the center of the town. We don't have so many woods, like in Green, but we also have park nearby and Sluznik, the hill with forest. So they were really encouraged to go out with group.
Thank you. I want to mention about the science pack. You have seen the video. So there are lots of things that you can actually find at home. So it's easy even to replicate those things and make your own set and use it as a part of everyday activities with kids. But one important element of every science backpack is also a diary. And I asked Jiva also to bring her diaries that were created through this project and just to share maybe some inputs from parents and children or how they were actually experiencing the science backpack in a local environment. Please.
Yes, the children were writing with pens, not on the computer. Some of them could do something in, some of them were experimenting, I don't know, with natural colors, with water, then with pepper and so on. One of the girls also dyed the flowers, the roses. They were really, here on the backpack, there are some tips what you could do, but almost everyone did something totally different. So they were really motivated for their job. And the last one was talking about the Saharan no.
Saharan desert.
Yes, because we had sent last week.
Rain. Yeah.
Yes, and we were in our swimming institutes yesterday, and today we had snow. So I think that the next topic will be the changing climate or something like that.
Thank you. For those of you who are online, we have to say that we see through the window now snowing, you know, just so that you understand how Shiva is mentioning that, because 2 days ago there was like 25 to 30 degrees on the coast and now it's snowing outside. Yeah, but I have another question which is very relevant. As part of the knowledge multiplying done by students, they also created an article for the already mentioned newsletter, online newsletter for children called Časoris. Can you tell us a little bit about the process? How was this done? Your view on the whole, whole procedure?
It's really interesting because we as a teacher are used to everybody's shooting the snow.
The children were really, they want to do everything by themselves. They took photographs, they wrote everything by themselves. I was really surprised how they were engaged, because this is their work. And when it was published on the internet, they were really proud. It was something that is our project with the one step higher.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that it's very important to take serious kids in a sense that they are not just kids, but they are human beings with a lot of thoughts, emotions, and also great ideas. So it's important that we take them seriously from the very beginning. And I think that the multiplier project, especially what we wanted to show today with the dissemination event and all the creativity that was shown through the pictures, through the videos today, all these enthusiastic students that I saw on the pictures from Cyprus trying to persuade people is something that encouraged me even to work into the future on these things, because they will be soon those that will have more power in the society. They will be decision makers. So it's an important role of educators in all the levels that we really contribute to this change. So with this, we actually finished our presentation. So since I'm here, I would like to invite you all to maybe even give some questions to anyone who was presenting today, or some thoughts, opinions on what was presented, or your experiences with that. So the floor is open for everyone here, and of course online if there are any questions, please. Yes, please.
I'm Maria with the ANPAC. And so as I understood correctly, you are providing the equipment as well as an example of the kids' activities.
Yes.
So they could have more.
Just some tips.
So
But
not complete activities.
no, just starting tips, what they could do with short description in a couple of sentences. And we have to say, so throughout the project, we were having several meetings. And through these meetings, we actually discussed new topics or new ideas for the activities that were later on added to this. And those activities were mainly coming from the ideas that were created by kids and their parents. So we were looking through the diaries and adding some extra ideas. And also it happens a lot, Shiva will tell you, for her case, that when certain activities were done with within the group, so they were checking what the others were doing, and they were trying to do the same thing or something new, even better, you know. So it was motivational to see what was already in the diary. And as far as I know, you also had like a round.
Yes.
You can tell more about this.
We took down every Monday at the beginning of the class. We sat in circles, and the one that brought the back to school explained what he was doing. He saw the pictures, maybe also an experiment. We had wood in a jar for a whole year, and so on. One of them also had
earthworm.
An earthworm and his pet at home and so on. It was really interesting. They had the whole week, so they really could try what the student before them did.
So you set it as homework, basically, was it part of homework? Or
No.
did you make it up with them if they want to do it?
It wasn't a question. I just told them that we are in a project that will be passing on the backpack on Mondays, and there was
just one backpack.
Only one.
Yeah, for the whole.
Like borrowing the book.
Yes. Yes.
And they could select which week they would take it. Not like
They were,
compulsory.
the most, interesting was for the holidays, because there were 2 weeks. Yes. And they wanted to do it another one, so they were motivated, really.
Is there any question online, John?
Not yet.
No, Ilya, you don't have a question? What about the other? You can write it down if you want, and I will just read it if someone has a question. Is there any question in the audience for anyone who was presenting? I would have a question which is more general, but I think it really it can be answered from different countries. So I noticed in several pictures and several videos that there are some students who are really good in performing these dissemination events. So my question is, are those students also those that were the most active in doing the research or doing the activities, or are these different students? So what was your experience in your countries about that? Because there is a group and every one of them has certain skills. So how it was with this division of, let's say, work or experiences within the group? I know.
I think, in my group, they're always the same. They are open-minded and they are not shy, and so even in experience when they are working in project, they always take they are the leaders. So.
We had a variety of types of students, types of people, let's say. So that's why we also gave them different things. We had a group of very confident boys that had a rap song, and they rapped the song in class. But then when it came to the one of ciphers, then they were too shy. So but then we had other students that they are probably stronger in science than the rap song students. That don't shine as much because they're more, close to themselves. So I think it depends. So it's nice to have different types of activities so that students can showcase what they can do, and their talents in different ways.
Very good point. Yeah. And also it's a way how they collaborate and show their knowledge and experiences through different activities. That I think it's a good point of also multiplying in a sense. Yeah. Yes.
There's one other thing to add, because in the podcast it was different, because there we couldn't see them, and there were lots of shy students who did the podcast. And that was interesting.
There is another comment, yes?
Yes, we noticed that people shy students have a special behavior with children. Children get in the lab, in the classroom, where they have to involve them to be empathic with them, and also police of mind, even though there are students in that way, they were very surprised and perceived, because you can see your students in different moments, with different behaviors that you can see in the classroom, in front of lesson, to program up, certificate up 2 hours per week, help us more in that skills. Of course, the boy, the blonde one, is very proud to be there, and is one of the theater team, and also the presenting students. I think very fun.
Is anyone who would like to wrap up a little bit? No? So, Annette, do you have any comment?
So I just want to thank everybody for the really nice presentations. I think we get a very, very good picture about all the variety of multiplying events that have been conducted in the different countries. about how the students have been really, really well involved. And I think they had a lot of fun, as you said, we could tell from the pictures. So yeah, we are really looking forward to the last weeks of this project, and then to hopefully continue in some ways and maybe share our ideas with you online on the screens and the different schools. So thanks for organizing all that.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here and also online. And maybe just for the final word, I would just say that communicating science is very important. And I think through this project, we are giving opportunity to the students to learn how to communicate, first of all, and the second also to understand what science is all about. So it's a kind of a combination of both. And it's important for the future that we really also as scientists, I think we have learned a lot also as scientists and as teachers, how important it is to know how to communicate and how different it is to communicate with different stakeholders. And we can see that they could be very good communicators if we just let them do this. So if I have learned something apart from being part of a really amazing group of people, is that I have a really, how should I say, kind of a trust in younger students that they will be able to really make a change. If I conclude with that. Thank you again, and with this, so we are stopping this event, and greetings to everyone online, and maybe we can show it around. They are also waiting.
You can show the snow out.
We can show the snow to all of you. Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah. My bees. Thank you.